Hey y'all, what's up? It is me, Tania. Thank you for coming back to my channel. For those who know me, they know I'm a therapist. I'm also a certified health coach. And for those who do not know me, I do mainly lock videos, but I also do videos on mental health and personal development. So that being said, I'm going to continue with the lock videos, and today is going to be one of those. I am about to reach 4.5 years locked, and I'm happy about that. I was happy when I reached my 4 year mark earlier in the year at the end of March. So I wanted to talk today about thin locks, as I do have relatively thin locks. I got a two-headed dragon right here, and I had a video on this about how I manage my two-headed dragons, but I've gotten to the point where it's like I'm just going to listen to my hair. For the majority of the locks that I actually use the crochet needle to combine, they have stayed put. But then I have had some that were like, look, this is how I want to be, so this is what I'm going to do, and you're going to deal with that. Okay, so that was one of those, and I've just decided to just let them be. There are some things that you have to do a little bit. You have to be a little bit more careful when you are interlocking two-headed dragons, and I might make a video on that, how I manage my two-headed dragons when I'm interlocking them. But that being said, I wanted to talk about thin locks. Now, there are a lot of posts online that, in my opinion, give misinformation about thin locks. Generally speaking, when you hear the words thin locks, it has a negative connotation, like you're doing something wrong or something has gone wrong with your hair if your hair is, I guess, thin, or maybe more specifically if it's thinning. I know that there are different techniques that we use whenever we have thin locks versus thicker locks, and I've even mentioned in the past video that having thick locks can be beneficial if you are looking for more of a free form look, and if you are just looking for more of a unique look. There are a lot of benefits to having thick locks, but I think a lot of people don't give thinner locks the love that I, in my opinion, believe that they deserve, because there's a lot of I don't want to say lusting, but kind of lusting over thicker locks. And unless it's sister locks, it's like the in-between locks really kind of largely get ignored, at least based on what I've seen. So I just wanted to give some insight on my journey with my thin locks. Now, some of my locks, as you can see, all of my locks are not the same. I did not start my locks by myself. I started my locks with my mother. She started them in the back, and then I started the ones in the front. The ones in the front are more uniform than the ones in the back, because I had to combine a lot of locks in the back because they were actually too thin. So I do realize that when a person has thin locks, they deal with some things that people with thick locks don't deal with. When you have thinner locks, you have to be a lot more careful when you're managing your hair, because thinner locks by nature are not as durable as thicker locks. I've also heard that it's harder to keep thinner locks moisturized versus thicker locks, which kind of makes sense, because if you have more hair entangled upon itself, then it's going to take longer for that hair to dry, versus if you have a thinner lock whose diameter is not as long, then it's going to be, the water, is going to evaporate a lot quicker than a thicker lock. But I just want to give some tips on how I take care of my thinner locks and how I have prevented my thinner locks from breaking off. And these have worked for me for the last 4+ years. All right. So the first thing that I do when it comes to taking care of my thin locks is that I do not put too much tension on my edges. I'm very, very extremely conscious of how much tension is on my edges. When I wear ponytails, I'm always pulling the edges out a little bit from the ponytail, because I don't want alopecia, traction alopecia to start. I don't want any tension to be if I have a lot of new growth, because I think, in my opinion, at least what I've learned over the last 4 years, is that the area of your lock that where the new growth meets the actual locked part is the weakest part. So that's generally the first place that I've seen people's hair break, is that new growth area where it meets the actual lock part of the lock. So I'm very conscious of my edges, not only the edges themselves, but that, like I said, that part of the lock. Also, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I've been very conscious about my moisture levels of my hair, because at the end of the day, if your hair is not moisturized properly, you're leaving it more open for it to break off. You know, if your locks are dry, they're crispy, they're crunchy, they're more likely to break in general. So I would suggest, just please, and this is for thin or thick locks or sister locks or whatever kind of locks you have, or if you have loose natural hair or relaxed hair or whatever, but we're talking about locks in this video, just keep your hair moisturized, because like I've previously mentioned, those of us who have thinner locks, the diameter of each of our locks is shorter. So, you know, it's going to take short amount of time for the water to evaporate, out of our locks. It's going to make our hair dry out a little bit quicker, at least from my understanding, than if we have thicker locks. So be conscious of the moisture levels of your hair. Also, it's not my place to tell people what to do as far as, you know, the color and stuff like that, but one thing that I've consciously chosen not to do is add permanent color to my hair. I generally, I don't want to say a lazy locker, but I don't like to do a lot to my hair. So I know personally that if I put color in my hair, that my hair is going to break off at some point, because I just do the minimum to my hair. My hair is still flourishing, but that's because I haven't added any chemicals to my hair. Now, that is not to say that anybody else with locked hair that is thin, that they shouldn't do any color or have any color put in their hair. I'm just saying, for me, as for what I'm doing, I'm not putting any color in my hair, because I know that I'm not going to pay attention to it the way it will need me to pay attention to it for it to flourish with color. So far we have: pay close attention to your edges. Don't pull your hair too tight when you're doing styles or ponytails. Keep your hair moisturized, of course. And also, if you know that you're a lazy locker, be conscious of putting color in your hair, because it's going to make your hair more likely to break off, period. It doesn't mean that if you get color in your hair that it's not going to be healthy. It just means you're going to have to do a little bit more work to keep it healthy if you put color in your hair. And that's with all types of locks, but especially for thinner locks. Also, one thing that I've noticed as far as having thinner locks is that, you know, whenever I'm interlocking, when you interlock, especially if you do your own interlocks, you shouldn't be interlocking to the point where it's so tight on the actual scalp anyway. In my opinion, you should leave a little bit of leeway or looseness at the root so that it doesn't thin out. I think that's why a lot of people who do or have interlock, that's why their hair has thinned out, because they are, I guess, interlocking too tightly or too frequently. You know, that's another thing. If you're interlocking or choose to interlock, don't do it so frequently that your hair has no chance to recover, so to speak. I only interlock 3 to 4 times a year, and between that, because I semi-freeform, I do a light retwist, and my hair has been flourishing. I guess it's been thanking me, because it's been growing out. You know, my hair is past shoulder, of course it's past shoulder. My hair is past bra strap length, but it's not quite waist length yet. And I'm 4.5 years in, almost. So if you interlock, don't interlock too much. Be careful with your interlocking as far as your technique. Don't interlock too close to the scalp. And yeah, that's basically it. If there's anything else, I will make another video. But if you have any tips on, if you are a locker who has thin locks, meaning thin locks in diameter, not thinning locks due to damage, but who has thin locks, please, and if you have any other suggestions or comments or anything like that, leave them in the comments below. I would love to start a conversation. I would love to get your feedback. And for those who have made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Shout out to my new subscribers. I appreciate y'all. Look forward to more lock videos, and until the next time, bye bye.